Welcome into the Fantasy Hustle. This is
Wait, you just went in like that?
yeah. That's how we go in.
Oh,
We don't mess around. It's a little toot to let everyone know where we're coming. We just got done with the divisional round of the playoffs. We're going to talk maybe a little bit about that. Not too deep like last week when we talked about the wild card round. Pretty much half the show, more than half the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Championship Sunday, and should be an interesting show here. We don't really have a whole lot scripted. We're going to kind of freeball it. And once again, my man John is not going to be with us. And our
What's up? Still kind of pissed about the Bears losing.
not Barkley.
Barkley's on my mind, but I'm still kind of pissed off about the whole missed field goal. But Bears down, and I think next year's gonna be pretty big. So Super Bowl.
So you got to go now.
Yeah, I gotta go.
All right, that was John. He does have to go now. He's got to wake up early. We are not joined by any of our usual guests. We are joined by Michael, who you may hear from time to time throughout the season, but he never sticks around. He kind of just stirs the pot and leaves. Michael, welcome.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, well.
It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Thanks. Well, it's my show for now, right? So,
You made it explicitly clear that this is Brad's big fantasy bonanza.
that is the name of the show we're going with now. We even changed our email, but nobody knows about it yet. Real quickly, if you want to get in touch with us, it is we're on Twitter at @fantasy_hustle. On our Twitter page, you'll see our email, and that's still thefantasyhustle@gmail.com. And you can call us on the voice line, which is 219-576-6797. That's all the ways you can get a hold of us. So with that out of the way, let's kick it real quick here. Let's just talk about, I guess, these 4 games we saw. I'll let you take the mic here with the Colts-Chiefs game. I know a lot of people were pretty high on the Colts, and a lot of people maybe thinking the Chiefs, because they haven't done it in so long, win at home, that they just can't ever do it. So
I was excited about the cold weather. I was like, wow, I didn't anticipate those type of temperatures in Kansas City. I guess I've never really been to Kansas City in January. So I thought it was going to bode well for the Colts. First quarter said otherwise. But if anything, I think maybe the Colts might have found something, or it might have just been the Chiefs just playing a conservative game plan the second half. But all in all, it was a disappointing game. But at least I didn't get my hopes up.
Yeah, I mean, you kept your hopes, your expectations in check. You didn't go out there thinking you had a Super Bowl contender like some of the other co-hosts we've had. But the good thing about Indianapolis is they are definitely on the up right now. Andrew Luck is back. He's playing at a very high level. They have a ton of money to spend this offseason. They have 2 top 35 picks coming up this year. So, maybe they can keep adding to that defense that was, much better than we've seen in the past. Maybe they can catapult into a top 10, maybe top 5 range. And, of course, Andrew Luck's never had an offensive line like this, and that's, goes a long way for them.
In the NFL,
the success they have.
It all comes down to is that, especially if we're rebuilding, if you have a good draft, you're immediately competitive. And that's what the Colts finally did, was they had a really good draft. The first 2 picks being, maybe perennial all-stars.
Yeah, they're both all pros this year.
The things that you're hearing about Nelson is, from a lot of experts are saying how he's, a once-in-a-generation guard, which I know is not as important as a tackle, but they have a huge impact on the running game and kind of also protecting your quarterback. And then obviously the linebacker, Darius Leonard. Did I say that right? Oh God.
Hey, at least you're talking about your team here. So. It's always good.
But yeah, so it has me excited again. I feel for the last 4 or 5 years, post Peyton Manning, for what it's worth, I kind of checked out of like just watching the Colts. I just followed fantasy, so I'm excited about next year because there is some high expectations with the team they have. So. And plus, Andrew Luck had an amazing year. I don't think anyone's been thrown for 39 touchdowns that quietly in a long time.
Absolutely. And this is what I was saying earlier in the year. Like the Chargers, who we'll get to in a minute, they had to be the most under the radar 12-14.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe ever. Because early on they only had like 1 or 2 losses. And like, is anybody talking about them right now? No, it's all about.
That's been Philip Rivers' like whole MO. This guy, you would almost think he's probably, especially in the NFL, that their Hall of Fame is pretty much
much a joke.
Yeah, but he's a first ballot for whatever it's worth, a Hall of Famer. But he's been a guy that's never been, in the conversation as the best quarterback in the league, and maybe not even in the top 3. There's a time here he was kind of being mentioned in the MVP race, but then he kind of fell by the wayside. But he didn't really do anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, we touched on this last week. It's the wrong time.
Yeah.
If he comes into the league, 10 years later or 10 years earlier, it's a totally different story. But he came in the league and his whole career, Tom Brady's been there. I mentioned this. Roethlisberger's been there. Peyton Manning was there forever. So it's really tough to be, the greatest and get the rings when you got those guys. Tom Brady now, 13 AFC championship games in 17 years, so that's pretty special, for what it's worth. And that's moving on now. Anyway, the Chiefs did win that game 31-13 at home, and will host the AFC Championship game. The Saturday night game, I didn't really have any desire. Really, I watched it, but it wasn't my top game of the week because I didn't really see the Cowboys as a threat. If anything, I saw this as an opportunity for the Rams to get back to their old ways, getting back in the groove and all that. And
the Rams haven't been the same team they were like the first 10
no,
weeks.
And we mentioned this last week when they played the Bears.
I should have listened last week. I apologize.
Yeah. when they played the Bears, the Bears beat them up and they weren't the same. I think they lost 2 of their last 4 games. And 2 of their last 5 games, and they just didn't look the same even in their wins. And I felt like this is a good opportunity for them to get out there because the Cowboys weren't going to be able to stop the run like they did the previous week against the Seahawks. And not only did Todd Gurley get his, but C.J. Anderson, who's been on 3 teams this year, didn't do anything at all with the Panthers, and they cut him, and then never even saw the field with the Raiders. Went out there and just put up a monster game, and it just goes the same. I know a lot of people on Twitter and online I see all the time. Running backs, they don't matter anymore. Like you can find them in the 4th, 5th round. Hell, C.J. Anderson, you can find him on the street right now, and he does not look like he's in game shape. So I just think it's really hard for me to spend a 1st round draft pick on a rookie running back.
But then you have your Gurleys and your Barkleys.
You do have and Ezekiel Elliott. These guys were all, but then you have your Trent Richardsons and your Leonard Fournette maybe. So, it's hit or miss. Obviously there's more hits. Adrian Peterson, another one.
I think the big issue too is the time frame from when they're in their prime or how long are they in their prime for. And running backs, there's some running backs that are. It's a 3, 4, 5 year window, and that's it. Because once they, unfortunately hit that one injury, they're done. I guess if you were front office, but I think the Rams would definitely want to be where they're at without Gurley. He kind of
absolutely. Regular season, he made them so much better, made that passing attack so much better because teams couldn't really say, okay, we're just going to let Jared Goff beat, or they couldn't stop the pass and just say, okay, let's hope Todd Gurley doesn't go nuts, because if you do that, Todd Gurley will go off and put up 3 touchdowns and 200 yards on you. The Cowboys side of the ball, the defense that had a really nice, jump this year, getting up there as one of the better defenses, and really had a good performance in the wild card game, just got manhandled by that Rams offensive line. And the Rams offensive line wasn't anything special this year. It might have been one of the Rams' weaknesses coming into the playoffs, and they pretty much just said after 1 week here in the playoffs, we don't have any weaknesses. We're going to be able to do this to anybody we want. And I don't know, it'll definitely be exciting these next 2 games here this weekend, because I think all 4 of these teams are very exciting to watch. They all do things their own way that could be, pretty solid there. And I'm looking forward to it, even though I was hoping for some different matchups. The Rams did win that game 30-22. And I feel comfortable moving on. The other AFC game, unfortunately, New England 41-28 over the Chargers, and it's 35-7 at half. And I tell you what, the Chargers the defense, the offense goes out there, they answer the opening touchdown by the Patriots, 7-7, and then after that, it's just that defense couldn't do anything, that offense couldn't do anything, and once you got down 14 to Belichick in Foxborough, you're done. And then there's maybe a glimmer of hope there for the Chargers, where they force a 3-and-out, they get a punt, and then their punt returner muffs it, and the Patriots then score a touchdown on that. So you could have gone to the locker room 28-14, receiving the second half kickoff, but instead you're down 35-7, and that's all she wrote. And again, like we talked about, Rivers snake bitten. His era just did not allow for him to be great, even though his numbers are going to suggest he's a Hall of Famer, and he will be a Hall of Famer. Don't make any, doubt about it. But he'll never have that ring, it looks like, because, now all of a sudden you got guys like Patrick Mahomes stepping up and Andrew Luck coming. So even if Brady retires or is on that downward trend, you now have a couple young guys coming up and stealing the throne from Brady. So Rivers is always going to be the bridesmaid, I guess. Yeah?
Well said.
We'll just move on here.
I was sleeping. What were you talking about?
And of course, the Patriots did put on a show. Like I said, you don't score 35 or 41 points without, doing your homework and getting a great game plan put together.
And that's all it is game plan. The team has they have athletes, but Philip Dorsett was a bust for the Colts. Tom Brady's.
If you look at the 2 rosters,
57 years old.
The Chargers were the more talented team.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think there's any question about that. And they had the more athletic players on offense and defense, but Belichick and McDaniels put the game plan together, and Brady and the defense executed it to perfection. That's all there is to it. And, it helps when Sony Michel, is a wild card in this. No one really thought much, goes out there and has the game he has. 100 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half.
I think that's important, too, for playoff teams, and I think I know that Belichick has capitalized on this, is those wild cards, is a guy that you've been maybe holding back a little bit. Many were speculating that, bring up Bears talk, like Jordan Howard, maybe that would have been a thing in the playoffs, that they've kind of preserved him, and you're going to let him run loose. We don't know.
Yeah.
But obviously you probably didn't plan for you to get beat by the Patriots running back. And
no, absolutely not. And I know a lot of the talk was James White.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier. He was a guy that you expected to get plenty of receptions, because the Chargers were a team that did allow a lot of receptions, a lot of targets, a lot of receiving yards to opposing backs. And James White went out there and put up 15 receptions, I think, and just could not be stopped. And, anybody, I'm pretty sure there are 64 quarterbacks in the NFL that could have got the ball to James White and Julian Edelman the way Brady did, but nobody does it better than him, I guess, right now, and he's still really good at hitting the checkdowns. So the final game was really the only game that really kept my interest the whole time. The Eagles go into the Saints, and out of nowhere they're up 14-0, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
Foles magic continues. The Eagles are a team of destiny apparently, and they score 14 points in the first quarter, up 14-0, and all of a sudden they can't do anything else after that. And I think it was Foles threw an interception to, I think it was Lattimore picked him off, and after that he just could not get into a rhythm, and they didn't score again. And the Saints chipped away, made it 14-7, I believe, and then 14s, and then 2 field goals made it 20-14. And I don't know about you, but watching that game, I thought for sure he had refound that momentum. He was definitely going to drive them down there and score the game-tying touchdown, and the extra point would have iced it, if not for Alshon's slippery fingers and causing that pick. I thought for sure that was going to happen. So.
Yeah, but that just like the Rams, the Saints, same thing. It's weird. The NFC to me has the better teams this year, but the ones at the top, they've shown a lot of weaknesses. They're not as. I mean, the Saints. If you looked at them like week 8, 9, I mean they
were unbelievable. Yeah. Well, they went out there and beat the Eagles in week 11, 48-7.
What was the game? Was it a holiday game when Breeze just wasn't very sharp? And I think it was their first loss.
It was against the Cowboys. It was the week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Thursday night game in Dallas. Yeah, they couldn't do anything,
and that was so bizarre because and then from there it seems like they just kind of lost their mojo. And, I mean they've gotten it back here and there, but them and the Rams. It's like I don't know who's going to come out of the NFC.
Yeah, both those teams were flying high. Obviously, the Monday night game with the Chiefs and the Rams was a great game. The Saints and the Rams have played each other in the regular season. That was an awesome game with the Saints winning that one. So you got a rematch, 2 rematches in the conference championship game. But
and that's my fear too. Is the Patriots are hitting their stride, and I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't want to see a team. I always root against dynasties, but really, if they win this game, I mean,
3 straight Super Bowl.
You almost think that they could be if they're not favored by odds makers. I mean, from football analysts, I mean, there's a lot of reason to root for or to see the Patriots. There's something in my eye.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons to pick the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, which it's crazy to think that they're still the class of the AFC.
So the funny thing I heard on the radio today, the 4 quarterbacks remaining, who's the one guy you'd want right now, and who's the one guy you absolutely wouldn't want leading your team?
Yeah.
And
Goff would be the one I wouldn't want to lead my team.
One guy on the radio said Brady would be the guy he definitely wants, and the other guy said Brady would be the guy he definitely doesn't want. Obviously, Brady has the ability; he's done it time and again. But the guy's reasoning for not wanting him is just because the other 3 guys throw it. Like Breeze put it up an incredible completion percentage. Obviously, we know what Mahomes did, and Goff, for all his struggles at times this year, early on before they kind of hit that skid, Goff was doing some really good things. He was a top quarterback, so
MVP candidate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, all these guys were in that conversation, putting up huge numbers, having a great season, and Brady was just kind of dinking and dunking. It's like the tortoise and the hare. Brady's the tortoise here, and the other 3 guys are the hare.
And once again, I hate to speak so highly of the Patriots and Brady, but I mean Brady's mastered that throughout his career. Like if the team calls for him to be a run, heavy with the little dunk passes, they'll do it. If they have Randy Moss, he's gonna break the touchdown record. I think he just is great at fitting into schemes. And I think obviously that a lot of that is because of Belichick and what he's created there. Just to switch sports, I mean, you think about the Spurs. I mean, they have done that same thing. Popovich, whoever he gets in, they fit into he has superstars, but they play like regular players and they play part of a system. And I think that's really important because there's a good likelihood that someone like Goff or Mahomes is going to lose the game for them. In the next week or 2. But Brady's not going to lose. He's not going to lose the game for the Patriots.
Absolutely. And going even back to fitting into the system, the funny thing is Brady is only getting $15 million. He only gets paid $15 million, and you got guys like Kirk Cousins making $28 million or whatever. Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys making.
Glennon made what was it 16 last year?
Yeah,
18?
and so it's amazing. Like Brady understands, like if he wants that big contract, the team's going to suffer, and he's sacrificed money. And I mean, we look at it and say 15 million, 25 million. What the hell's the difference? And I think that's what Brady's looking at, and Brady's probably going to recoup that when he's done because he's got his whole TB12 crap, and
But there's
people
still,
love
I think,
him, so
but it still takes a certain type of player. As you mentioned, 15 million sounds a lot like a lot of money, but a lot of these guys are, alpha dogs. They're starting
exactly.
quarterbacks, and you want to be the highest paid because it looks good on is who you are. I'm the best. I get paid the most. So it takes a certain type of person. And once again, let's get off of the Tom Brady train because I can't stand the guy. I always root against him.
yeah, absolutely, me too. So yeah, okay. So that was our divisional round there, and that brings us into the championship Sunday, which we'll end the show with. But right now, we're gonna kind of change pace here. We're gonna talk about the 2019 season. We're gonna kind of talk about some different formats, the top running backs we like going into it for each type of format, and the top receivers as well. Michael and I are in a keeper league. Michael was our runner-up this year. He drafted Saquon Barkley, and pretty much Saquon Barkley and just a hodgepodge of average guys led him to the championship game. And I asked him right now, would you trade straight up Todd Gurley for Saquon Barkley? And his answer was
No.
And why?
I mean, well, for one, I think the difference between Gurley and Barkley is it's marginal. I think Gurley is still much better, not much better, but he's a better running back, more polished. But he's been in the league was his fourth year.
Yeah. There's
So
a
he's going
3-year difference in him.
So I think that plays a huge part. Getting a little bit of performance, a little extra performance out of Gurley isn't worth the extra amount of miles. And especially in a keeper league, I like the idea that I have Barkley for the next, hopefully, 5-6 years of.
You would think, throughout his rookie contract at least for 4 years here, and then you never know where he's going to go, how he's going to fit in after that. And the thing about Gurley, he's in a good offense with a good quarterback, and it's going to keep rolling. Barkley, you have no idea what's going on there with the quarterback situation, but they have a good coach in there in Shermer who ran a good offense last year. They have another, top guy on the offense to kind of take a little pressure off Barkley and Odell Beckham. So that's always a good thing to have.
Manning, he got you 2 Super Bowls, but you're wasting some prime athletes' careers.
Those two guys, So if they do not draft a quarterback this year, I mean, they're not going to be able to get Foles. I would think the Eagles will be trying to somehow franchise trade him. Yeah, because that's the only play. You can't
that's
let
the
that
thing
guy
too.
walk.
We talk about running backs and how they're kind of maybe the top it's really nice, but they're really interchangeable. But quarterbacks too, it's like a quarterback fetches 15, 20, 25 million a year. Foles is going to get paid a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And is he really worth that extra amount of money? I think he's a great quarterback, but we're seeing more and more of these teams that are drafting these quarterbacks, first round, using their rookie contract and allowing them to be very competitive and spending money elsewhere. So hopefully they go that route because they have a lot of money tied up in Odell, and you want to probably put more money into your defense and what have you. So I think definitely the Giants need to draft a quarterback and just throw him in there. I mean, he's got people.
You might as well. He's got the weapons there. So I mean, this is why you have to be excited about the Browns right now because they got that cost-effective quarterback. They got a lot of good young players there with all the drafting they've done. They got a good draft coming up again. So that's exactly it. I mean, we saw it with Russell Wilson. We saw it with the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
Wentz didn't cost them much. Obviously, when he went down,
Goff now.
Yeah, and Goff's another one. And now you got Mahomes is doing it. So
Trubisky.
all these teams are going to ride their rookie contract and that quarterback, try to put great pieces around them for the money there. And this is why you're seeing teams like maybe the Vikings and the Packers especially because they're paying so much. Falcons as well. All these teams with these really high paid quarterbacks. Basically, every team in the NFC North but the Bears, because Stafford's the same way. He's getting paid
a
ridiculous amount of money, and they can't put a good team around him.
Here's the question: if you're Kyler Murray, what do you do? Because I always say baseball for anyone because of the salaries, but if you're a quarterback, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, especially by the time he hits his first payday, because he's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL, so he's going to have a set pay scale for the first 5 years. After those first 5 years, or maybe before year 5, he's going to get an extension. And that extension, by that time, who knows? Maybe all quarterback deals, are fully guaranteed or pretty damn close to it, like we saw with Cousins this year. So that is definitely a thing to think about. I mean, and like you said, I would definitely go with Major League Baseball too, because no matter what contract you sign, it's fully guaranteed.
The salaries tend to start out higher, but that quarterback though. I mean, you're looking at a lot of quarterbacks. It's easy to hit that 30 million mark, or not easy, but at least exceed 20 million if you're a really good quarterback. But there's no guarantee you're going to be a really good quarterback. Look at was it Drew Henson, who had the option of the two, and both didn't work out. So I mean, I guess if you go the NFL route, you're guaranteed to make the big money as a first-round pick. You go the MLB route and you just never pan out, you never get to the big ball club, you're just going to always be making minor league money. And although Murray's got a good... Yeah, he was drafted, 8th overall.
So he got good money already, but in the long run, baseball probably the better option.
Because, I mean, plus, you could have 18 to maybe not 20. I mean, you could have a 20-year career. You're not going to have I take that back.
Well, you're probably not going to have a 20-year career as a quarterback in the NFL. You're probably, realistically, the highest you're looking at is 15 years there. I mean,
plus he's a smaller guy, so you got to figure he's going to.
And it's not just small like Russell Wilson. Small like Russell Wilson still has some size. He's not tall in height, but he's strong enough, muscly.
Yeah, that's definitely a word.
That's the word. He's stocky enough where he can take a couple of hits per game and not, be really struggling the next week there. So it'll definitely be interesting. And I don't know, Arizona really, they have the first pick in this draft. So I don't know if you already drafted Rosen in the first round last year.
They're screwed.
I don't know what you do there. You have an elite pass rusher in Nick Bosa. If you don't take him, it might be a bad choice. But you look at San Francisco and then New York. Those are the next two teams in the draft. The Jets, they already have their quarterbacks. So then it comes to Oakland and Tampa and the Giants and Jaguars. Those four teams all are desperate for a quarterback. So you might be able to get a king's ransom if you trade for that spot. Okay, so getting back to this now, I want to talk about some formats here. Like I said, we're in a keeper league. There's Dynasty League, which I'm not big on the Dynasty League. You have your full team. You can keep pretty much everybody, and then you just do a rookie draft every year. And that's great. You get the rookie draft, but for me, I love the draft, the fantasy draft. Be it in our league, usually our league, you keep 0 to 5 guys. You can keep whatever you want, somewhere in that range. So if you keep 5, we have a 17-round draft. You have 12 draft picks. If you don't keep anybody, you have 17 draft picks, and so on. And that's beautiful because you get to keep a good core that you built up, but you also get your draft. And that's the thing I don't like about Dynasty. And I'm not saying Dynasty's bad. If you want to do Dynasty, that's fine. I mean, I would do it, but my preferred is the keeper. And then, of course, there's redraft leagues.
If I ever considered a Dynasty, because you keep all of your players, except, right? Is it?
You keep the certain set number, and then you have the rookie draft. And then those rookies take the place.
I could see that being fun if and this would be a whole, Pandora's box, but introducing individual defensive players, which I've never played any leagues with individual defensive players, but I could see that would be a lot because there'd be a lot of trading, and it would mimic a real football team, and that would be fun. but I don't even know how. I've never done it.
I've never done a dynasty. I've done defensive players, and I didn't really care for it. It was a 3 defensive player. You had a D line, a linebacker, and a DB, and I mean it just wasn't fun, and I didn't know who the hell I was drafting. First off, I mean, you don't know who good defensive players are if you've never done it before, so that's a thing there. And I mean, and then of course you have all these different formats, but you have PPR, half PPR, standard scoring. There's so many different ways you can kind of tweak scoring, and I think for me right now, my favorite format.
Where you're at in your life.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I love a keeper league. I love it. I know I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of different keepers. There's keepers where you keep 2, and you keep them wherever you drafted them. If you drafted a guy in the 16th round, he's a 16th round keeper for you the next year.
Yeah, or however John does it. We could talk about him since he's not here.
Yeah,
he just makes up the rules throughout the season.
Yeah, John gets to keep. He gets to keep Todd Gurley and DeAndre Hopkins as his 15th, 16th round pick every year, while everyone else has to keep first and second round picks because he's the commissioner. And commissioners get to do what they want sometimes. But and of course, his draft is also great because they don't have a clock. They just wait for John's brother to yell at him.
Oh, John is gonna punch me in the arm. It's like I could feel it. Like I have a phantom pain right now. His ears are ringing, and he's like, I must bully someone, and I know exactly who it is. He's probably sleepwalking here.
He's
right
probably
now.
on his way here.
Yeah.
Yep, right now. But yeah, we don't throughout the season. We don't really get to pick on John too much. He does most of the bowling on the show, so this is kind of fun, even though he's not here right now.
He's a great bully. He's
a subtle bully too. Like he's not over the top with it, but he'll get you down to your lowest point, and then he knows when to back off too. He doesn't go over the top.
Yeah, he's masterful.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, we are going to a PPR format in not next year, but 2020. We're going to go into this 2019 draft.
Really?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Did you not vote on this?
It was
on the website all year.
I've told you before, I don't have my password. And
That's
every time
right.
I go to vote for something, it asks for my password.
Correct.
So
So you're the one asshole that didn't vote this year.
No, I voted. It just told me, we want your password. And I was like, well, I don't, too bad.
Yeah, so we are going to that. It'll be a 2020. So prepare for the 2019 draft,
Well, it's good to know.
But we don't know what the scoring is. It'll probably be a half PPR. I keep going back and looking on our website. Our website sucks for, custom scoring. There's not a whole lot that you can do. I wish you can do it where if it's 0 yard gain or less, it doesn't count. Because
that's my number one complaint with PPR, because it doesn't always. Sometimes it's awarding things that aren't productive. If you're a guy that just gets screen passes a lot, I mean, you're going to be a good fantasy player, but are you actually helping your team win? That's why, obviously I think touchdowns are very important. Yardage is important. And that's where, we have that debate on field goal kicking, which I don't want to get into that. But the one reason why I still cling to field goal kickers is they do contribute to the final score. So I want them to be tied in to fantasy football, because I think that's the most important thing of the game is scoring points.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, and I'm not just a non-kicker guy. I would like to do away with.
I know.
defenses too,
Like I said, I'm gonna say my point. I'm not gonna let you have a rebuttal.
I like skill position guys. Give me those guys all day long, and maybe tight ends just become flex guys, 2 flexes. But yeah, I mean, there's so many fun formats to do, and I love it all, man. I wanna be more active in different types of fantasy leagues, and that's why I'm really pushing some new rules for our league this year. Hopefully, we kind of come on it and get some new things going here, like the PPR we got. I want to adjust some other scoring a little bit. We get the bonus points for going over 100 yards, completely arbitrary. And, I've been thinking more and more about that. Like, why?
Right.
Yeah. What's the difference really between 99 and 100 yards?
Nothing.
Obviously, it's 1 yard. Yeah, that's a difference. But is it worth that bonus? No, of course not. So that's all the different things there. And now what I'd like to do is real quickly do a rundown of the top guys going into 2019 as of right now. Obviously, this is all going to change. We don't know where, some big time guys that we might mention here are even going to be next year. But, we don't know who.
Or you always, I feel like you have one training camp or preseason injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's going to be that. And there's going to be guys on here that quarterback might get changed here. I mean, my number 2 running back might not have the same quarterback he had this year. So, you wanna lead it off here?
What do you want to do?
Give me top 10 running backs that you like, or top running backs you like going into the next season.
You asked the guy that doesn't have a piece of paper in front of him, but I could do this.
All right.
So top 10.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think Gurley and Barkley, I think a two-headed monster. So that's going to be hard for any league that, if you're in a new league, who do you draft first overall?
Well, if you're in a redraft,
yeah, completely.
Every
start
single year
scratch.
you do a redraft. I'm big on Gurley because you know what you're getting. There's not going to be much variance there. The offense is completely intact, and then I do like Barkley too. But if you're in the first year of a dynasty or a keeper league, I would flip flop the two.
Or PPR maybe, right? I mean, you have
I mean, Gurley gets his receptions, but not like you expect Barkley's going to do. I mean, he set the rookie receiving record, and sky's the limit going forward for him, you would think. So yeah, Gurley and Barkley kind of 1-2, depending what kind of league you're in, format. If it's a keeper league, if it's just redraft, if it's PPR, all that stuff.
But the debate to me is the third running back. Who's the third best running back? I was actually down on Kamara going into the season. I thought he was one of those, guys that comes out of nowhere, right time, right system, flash in the pan. But man, he was great this year too.
I think the thing about Kamara that's great is Sean Payton is, he was Sean McVay before Sean McVay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a really good coach. He's a really smart offensive mind, and he knows how to get his guys the ball. And he knows he's got two absolute monsters, two stud guys in Kamara and Thomas, and he got them the ball as much as possible. And even when Ingram came back, Kamara still did his thing, and he's a good option there. I like a couple guys ahead of him. I still don't know about his size, if he can hold up to the pounding.
I didn't say he was my number 3.
Okay.
I haven't revealed that yet. I want to wait till the commercial break, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you. But go ahead.
So commercial break is my number 3, I guess. Then I like Elliott. I still like Ezekiel Elliott.
He's the best pure running back in football.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, when he can run it between the tackles, he can get out. On the edge and get out there and make big plays. And he had a really good season receiving as well. Mm-hmm. And I think, Dak is very up and down, very inconsistent as a fantasy player, but he's a pretty solid leader, I guess. And, that's big for Zeke because he's still got that quarterback there that at least poses a threat to other teams and they have to worry about. So I think I like Zeke for that. And that offensive line is very good still. They got, a couple of really solid pieces still going there. So I think that would be my number 3.
Okay. I'm not going to put McCaffrey at 3. McCaffrey to me, I don't know. The same thing with Kamara, but even more so, how is this guy so good? I mean, he catches the ball. He's the best receiving running back out of anyone
ever. Yeah, I mean, he had the best season ever.
And that's something that you can't take away from someone. If they're a good receiver, he's going to have that. Look at Darren Sproles. The guy can catch the ball. He's still in the league. He's still productive, and he's
Still good, yep.
34, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So McCaffrey has a long future in the NFL. So it's like, he's great. If you're talking keeper, maybe he should be your 3. Look at me just teasing people. But, I think I'm actually going to agree with you with Ezekiel as number 3, just because, the Cowboys have established themselves as a really good running team, even prior to Elliott. So they have a good offensive line, maybe not as good as it was 3-4 years ago, but really there hasn't been a whole lot of turnover. So I would, slot Elliott 3. The one I want to ask, so the top 3, and then, we could probably agree that Kamara, I don't know, is your 4 or 5 different between Kamara and McCaffrey?
It is.
Now, before you say that, is it a dark horse? Is it someone that, because there's one guy that's looming that says, don't forget about me, even though I was a bust for so long. He's not in your 5, is he? He is.
I'm not really sure.
You're not picking up what I'm putting down?
Bust for so long.
Well, he wasn't a bust. He was a guy that you're like, I don't think he's really going to be what I thought he was going to be.
Well, here's my thing on my number 4. I've always thought he had a bad rookie year. It wasn't great. And then even coming into this year, I really liked him, but he was like the least sexy first-round pick, I think, in the history of fantasy football, because he was going to get his numbers, but he wasn't going to do anything flat. He wasn't going to give you what Kamara gave you.
You're talking about Melvin Gordon.
I'm talking about Melvin Gordon.
Okay.
I really like Melvin Gordon because just like Barkley, Gurley, and Elliott, he does it all for his team. He can catch the ball. He can run very well. Very good offense. They're not going anywhere. That offense will still be fine next year. And I think obviously he got hurt this year, missed a few games, but I really don't think Austin Eckler's much of a threat there. Justin Jackson might be a nice, change of pace guy, or maybe every couple plays he gets in there and gives Gordon a little, breath of air. But I think it's Gordon's team for next year for sure, 2019, and that's why I have Melvin Gordon as my 4.
Okay. You know what I was trying to get you to say? Who to think about?
Lev?
Huh?
I thought you were going Lev Bell there.
No, I was going way at wild card. Derrick Henry.
Oh no. He one game does not make a. Well,
there was more than one.
In this case, it did make a great season for him. But no, he's not. He's not even in my top 10.
Well, here's the thing why I really like Derrick Henry, because the Titans are perfectly positioned to be a run-heavy team. They have a quarterback that's good, not great. They have a really good defense most of the time. So if they could just find a way to use someone like, because he kind of fits that like early, when we first started playing fantasy, Brad and I are the same age, but I remember when we were in high school, 14 years ago, 12, whatever, during that time.
15 years ago.
There was always that, like, you would get that workhorse, you get those Larry Johnsons, you would get those Sean Alexanders. So I see a lot of that in Derrick Henry. And I guess what it is, I really want to like him because he gives me that Jamal Lewis feel, like that big, just like, but a fast, big running back, bruiser. So
is Derrick Henry your 4?
You know what? I'm gonna. He's in my top 10.
Wow.
Yes, he's in my top 10.
Well, we should talk about trade after the show then.
Oh yeah, he's on your team. Yeah. Barkley for Henry. No.
Yeah,
not that high.
I'll give you Barkley, and I'll throw in a pick.
Because I mean, really, once you go below, I think the top, say 6, 7. I think there's a lot of guys that they clearly have they're missing something. There's no perfect. The top 5. I think we could agree these big names. They're all well-rounded, and they're going to be very productive. But outside of that, those guys are wild cards. And Derrick Henry is a wild card, but we saw something in him that very few running backs can do in this league. And that is literally, just carry a team.
Yeah.
Maybe, albeit it was for very few games, but it was really something to see. So
very few games, but he didn't really get the
He
opportunity
did right, exactly.
that he needed to get. The problem, like you were saying there, when we were first starting playing fantasy, those running backs were the thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today's NFL, those running backs just aren't it, because Tennessee gets down 10, 14 points. Derrick Henry's out of the equation.
Right, yeah.
They won't go to him. If they want to try to do something a little different at the start of a game.
But you also got to factor in, you expect the Titans going forward to more often than not win, 9 to 10 games. I mean, that's their expectation. And a couple other games that they're going to lose would be close. So how many times are they going to get blown out? Because there will be those games where he's going to give you probably 0 points or a couple points because they had to pull him.
You might get a short yardage touchdown, and that's another good thing with him is even if they are down, say 20 points, if they have a 50-yard pass play down to the 1 yard line, who's going to benefit from that? It's the best, one of the best guys in the league at getting 1 yard. So, enough about Derrick Henry.
Oh, sorry. We'll come back to him.
I have I have Gordon at 4.
I say stay tuned. We're gonna have a Derrick Henry exclusive podcast.
Ooh, next week. So who's your 4?
Let me go back to my list here. So I have Barkley. I got Gurley. 1, 2, 3. Elliott. Who'd you say it was? I'm sorry. I was too busy scrolling on the screen.
Melvin Gordon's my 4.
Okay. I'm gonna put Kamara there. Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess my one concern with Kamara is what happens when Breeze is gone. If Breeze retires, is that offense is completely disintegrate? Because that happens with a lot of these systems. You lose that one key cog and then forget about it. But he seems very talented. You still have Peyton there, who's you would assume he's going to be able to figure out, as you mentioned earlier, to feed the ball to the superstars. So,
all right.
Ingram's getting much older.
Ingram's a free agent, so you don't even know if he's going to be back.
Right. Okay.
So that could be a boost or maybe a.
Well, he was gone those first 4 games, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
Unbelievable, yeah. So maybe, but I don't know if Kamara can withstand a 16-game season like that. My number 5 is Kamara. So we've talked about him, so I won't go any more in detail with him. So who you got 5?
I would do Gordon. So we kind of just flipped them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think out of the that's the last one for me that is a dominant running back when he's in the game, when he's healthy. Those 5 are 5 that you really could rely on. But 6, I'm interested to hear what your 6th pick is.
Well, 6, I have McCaffrey.
What the hell? Did you skip something? Well, I'm confused. Wait, how did you get? Did I say McCaffrey yet?
You have not said McCaffrey yet. So McCaffrey's your 6.
That's
okay. So maybe you like McCaffrey.
There we go.
More
okay,
than Gordon,
sorry.
But
no, I don't.
The thing that worries me here, I heard today, Cam Newton. He's got the shoulder issue. If he has another surgery on the shoulder, he could sit out the entire 2019 season. Obviously, that would be disastrous for everyone in this Carolina offense, including McCaffrey. So that's cause for concern. But as of right now, as it stands, assuming Cam's going to play in 2019, yeah, McCaffrey's my 6, and I don't think there's. I like the 5 guys ahead of him, and everyone behind him I don't even put in his class. So it's pretty easy.
Okay.
All right, so 7. This is where we're really going to start to have a little difference of opinion here, because I really like what James Conner did this year.
Ooh, I wouldn't even put James Conner in my top 10.
Okay, but I think Pittsburgh always has a good running back.
Yeah,
and whoever their running back is always gets the majority.
But how do you know
carries.
it's going to be James Conner? Too, I mean, they still. I don't think Le'Veon Bell is probably.
Le'Veon Bell's not coming back.
But yeah, but as you mentioned, anyone that fits.
Jalen Samuels had a nice season, but there's a reason that Conner was the guy for the first 13 weeks or whatever it was, and Jalen Samuels was nothing basically. And I think coming into next year, Conner's going to be the guy again, and that's the offense they have. The offense, they just give one guy the ball, and he does it all, and I think it's going to be James Conner. And as long as Roethlisberger and Juju are there, maybe Antonio Brown, I think Conner's going to be just fine.
Do you feel? It's what I felt like when I was watching the Steelers this year. When you had Conner in at running back opposed to Bell, you feel, and maybe Bell is that much better than him. I just feel like the offense was missing something. They were good, but they didn't have that they weren't as dynamic. So maybe especially with Brown maybe leaving or wanting to leave. I mean, a lot of them are saying he's done. Can you trust an offense that is Roethlisberger, Connor, and Schuster? That might really hamper them, or it maybe would generate more opportunity for Connor.
It could be more. I think the thing about Bell is he's a fantastic pass catcher. I mean, he's one of the best receiving backs in the league, and I think that's why you saw a significant difference in the offense this year, because James Conner is obviously not Le'Veon Bell. The talent is just not there, not just as a receiver, but as a runner as well. But that offensive line is very good. They open up holes for him, and that's why I have Conner at 7. 7, who you got?
This isn't a.
What's in the box?
It's not a fun list if you don't take a chance. So I'm gonna put Henry there. I'm gonna slot him in. I'm gonna be high on him. I can say whatever I want because I probably won't be back on this podcast anytime soon. So if things go bad, I'll never come back on.
Hey, I mean, the way he ended the season, he was a top 10 running back. I mean, he almost got into the top 10, even though he was 38 before that game against the Jaguars. So, I mean, if you just go based on that, yeah, I can understand that, and maybe things will keep rolling that way. But Titans did lose their offensive coordinator, so you never know.
Okay,
you ready to move on?
Yeah.
8. I'm going with another, probably one that you're going to disagree with. I'm going to go Le'Veon Bell, even though he doesn't have a team. I think he's going to go somewhere and just absolutely be the guy. And even if he goes somewhere that has a decent running back already, they're going to get both of them on the field, and he'll be a receiving option, as I just said before.
Where do you think he's going to go?
I would. My gut is kind of saying it's going to be Indy. I think they got all the money in the world, like I said.
Yeah.
And Mac is nice, but like I said, you can put both of them on the field. You can have Bell line up in the slot and Mac in the backfield, and it would just. It's going to give you so many mismatches, and it might be a great thing for Mac as well to have that guy there. I don't think he'll put up, obviously, running back 1 or 2 numbers, Mac, in that situation, but he'll be good for a game, every couple of weeks, I think.
And this is something that definitely, it would be interesting to look back at this top 10, because when Bell's on an actual team, I mean, heck, we could be saying he's the number 3, number 4. Yeah, if he goes to the right spot.
Yeah.
That's totally not a bad pick. He would definitely be. He's definitely my top 10.
Was that impersonation of me?
Yeah, that's impersonation of you. But I mean, there's the guys too. Like you got the Mixon, who is still young, but man, the Cincinnati is just
it's a wreck.
It's a wreck. So I don't want to put him in that spot. Then you have David Johnson, who has been very talented. He wasn't bad this year.
It's funny because at work today, I was talking to this guy and I asked him. We were talking fantasy, and I said, "Is David Johnson the most disappointing top 10 running back in fantasy history?"
Yeah.
Because he did finish as a top 10 running back in almost all formats. But yet, because you spent a top 5 pick on him, top 5 overall, not top 5 rounds, you're expecting him to be a top 5 back for you. And since he was running back 9, you were disappointed.
But as I like to play a game here, do a little bit of curveballs, I am going to insert a very young running back on a team that I think is going to go to the next level. I'm prepared to watch them make the playoffs next year with a really good offense and a really good defense. Do you have any idea who I'm referring to?
Philip Lindsay?
No, I'm not. I am not high on Philip Lindsay because
Okay.
I want Freeman to be good.
Rashad Penny.
No. You're getting warmer.
Kerryon Johnson.
getting cold.
Oh, sorry. Getting warmer. Sony Michelle.
No, there was no reason why I said you were getting warmer or cold. But that's
I
another.
have no idea. You're a wild card as it is.
Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb he's my next guy. He's my
Okay.
9. So I agree with you. I mean, that offense is definitely going in the right direction. Obviously, they got Baker in place. They hired their offensive coordinator to be the head coach now because he gets along with the quarterback. You know, Jarvis Landry's a nice receiver. You know, maybe they can get a big time guy to go along with him. That'd be great. Unfortunately, there's nothing in free agency at all. And then, as you said, that defense is very good. So, yeah, I like Chubb there. He's my 9, so 8 makes sense for.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's my 9.
Perfect.
You're 9, so I put you right back on the spot.
To go back to the guys I mentioned, I would put. I don't love this pick, but I would put. When we're ranking, are we talking about keepers?
We're basically right now just talking about the guys for 2019, what they're going to do in 2019.
Okay. I'm gonna put David Johnson there.
Again, you're one spot ahead of me. I got DJ at 10. As I just said, he had a good year, but you wouldn't know it because
Right.
so many people were disgusted with him. But yeah, he's my 10. He's another one of those backs that does it all. He's a good runner. He's a good receiver. One of the best receiving backs in the league. But that offense was just atrocious this year. So maybe bringing in an offensive guru, or maybe not guru, but a good young offensive coach like Cliff Kingsbury, and maybe Josh Rosen can figure something out. I doubt it, but I like DJ.
Cool.
You like DJ? Obviously, he's got a 9.
Yeah, I like them.
All right, so 10. Who you got is rounding out your top 10.
We'll throw a mix in there.
All right, so you're keeping Connor and Bell out of there.
Yeah.
I know you already said you didn't like
Anti-Steelers,
Connor.
apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just concerned, and it's probably the same type of concern I had for Kamara last year, and it wasn't warranted as he wound up being very good. I'm always scared of that one guy that comes out of nowhere. You know, like the Doug Martins or the what was the for the Redskins that one year.
Alfred Morris.
Alfred Morris. Those guys, is it just because it's the right time, right place, or is it because of just true ability? And as we mentioned, that 5 and 6 top running backs, we think they really are qualified, bona fide stars, are very, very good running backs. The other guys there's something missing, and I see that with Connor, but Bell, the wild card is because I don't know where he's going, so I don't want to.
Yeah, and this is why you do a tier ranking, because like you said, those top 5, 6 guys, they're studs. You can bank on them, and then you go 7 through 11, and you think they're going to be good. They should be good, but you never know. And then after that, it's like another 5 guys that are the starters for their team, and you got guys like Devontae Freeman and Joe Mixon, who you mentioned, and a bunch of other guys, Derrick Henry, who I'm not top 10 on, but you are. They could be nice pieces, but you kind of, it's kind of a risky situation there once you get into that middle teens. So that is our top 10 running backs for 2019. Obviously, it's very, very early, but I figure it's always fun to kind of talk about stuff like that. So now we're going to close out the show here by just kind of going over the Championship Sunday. We have, first off, I believe first game is the Saints hosting the Rams, and then the nightcap on Sunday will be Patriots going to Arrowhead to take on the Chiefs. So we'll start in New Orleans. Should be a fun game. Both of these games, as I mentioned earlier, are rematches. This game was a lot of fun. They were neck and neck for a while there, and then the Saints kind of just got that extra score to make it a 2-point game, a 2-possession game, and that was pretty much all they needed, and the Rams just couldn't get in that. And I think at home, the Saints are one of the best teams, probably the best team in the league.
But how bad do you want to see a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl
rematch?
Yeah.
I would love it. But honestly, I think we haven't seen Chiefs-Saints yet.
Yeah, it's
So that would be a very
Pretty much
fun
the same
matchup
thing, yeah,
too.
yeah.
So you have star power all over the place, no matter who you get between the Saints and the Rams. I mean, running backs are great, quarterbacks are great. They got both ton of good receivers. And if you go on the defensive side of the ball, obviously the Rams have, Donald and Sue and Talib and Peters and just a bunch of great players there. But the Saints, Lattimore's coming on. That secondary has gotten a lot better the past, second half of the season here. Lattimore's been great. They have a great pass rusher in Cam Jordan. So I think, the Saints are on a roll right now. John and I have talked many times how Breeze doesn't have that MVP, but I don't think he cares if he gets it this year.
I think what he does care about is that second Super Bowl. Because,
Absolutely,
as far
because-
as the legacy goes, and that's speaking of the Hall of Fame, they put so much emphasis on Hall, and maybe for the right reasons. Winning Super Bowls is very important, but Breeze is winding down his career. He definitely wants that second, at least that one more Super Bowl.
you would, absolutely.
So I'm probably I don't know if you were ready to reveal your pick, but I'm definitely going with the Saints there.
Yeah, I'm also going with the Saints. They only lost once, at home there, and it was opening week.
And I'm beginning to. It's still early, but I kind of question Goff's big game presence. He's a guy he's a good. He has the numbers, but a lot of times you see him in prime time, he doesn't look as good as some of the premier quarterbacks. But maybe this is his time to shine. But until he proves me otherwise, I like Breeze against Goff.
Goff at home in that situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously the game against the Chiefs Monday night, that's Goff stepping up. But prime time on the road, obviously we saw the Bears game. He didn't do it. This is not prime time, but it's the only football game on, so everyone's going to be watching on the road in a very tough place to win. And I think the Saints are going to win this one too. It'll be a good game for sure.
I don't want to talk about the next game.
All right. Well, then I'll just talk about it real quickly. Then I want the Chiefs to win. I know you want the Chiefs to win. I think the Chiefs should be favored, and they are favored. Brady and Belichick together are 3-4 in playoff games on the road. Now, obviously, of their
That's all they've played?
yeah, 38,
Wow.
38 playoff games, and that doesn't include the Super Bowl.
Right.
But they have, 7 Super Bowls? So 31 games or something like that.
Jeez.
No. Is that right? They
I don't
played
know.
7
I'm
Super
just
Bowls?
listening to numbers and
But anyway, yeah,
responding.
they're 3-4, and they haven't won a road playoff game since the AFC Championship game in 2006 when they beat the Chargers. Ironically, the team they just beat last week. So they've played in 3 games since then, I believe, and they lost all 3. And 2 of them against the Broncos in that high-powered offense, although the second year was the defense. But the first year, Peyton Manning was on fire, did everything, and Patriots just couldn't keep up. And that's what you have this year. You have an offense that just can explode on you, and it's going to be frigid, freezing temperatures there in KC, and that probably you would think is a good thing for New England, but I just think KC is a team on a mission right now. And again, Brady hasn't done it. I mean, on the road, just no good. So 3-4, I mean, that's not good no matter how you look at it. So I'll take the Chiefs to win that one too. So I'll have the 2 1 seeds winning, and like you said, it'd be nice to get Rams Chiefs as a rematch, but can't go wrong with it. Really, you can't go wrong with any possible matchup, even if it's the Patriots, and it would suck because the Patriots would be in it, but it's going to be a good game.
I think I'm picking the Patriots because they defy logic. I mean, they kick the Chargers' butt, and they just know how to prepare. But it's a big game because we talked about it before we started recording. Mahomes in his second year, arguably, technically his
Basically,
first year.
yeah.
And so this could be, if you have a star quarterback, you are going to have a great team or a very good team. I mean, you're mentioning the 2006 Chargers. Phillip Rivers was involved, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've had a couple down years, but if you had that star quarterback, you're going to have a lot of chances to win a Super Bowl. So if Mahomes can win this game, I mean he's going to be way ahead of schedule, and we could expect because you don't just throw 50 touchdowns in a season,
and go away. I mean,
Dan Marino will tell you, right? You might not go back to the Super Bowl, but
the only guy I could say had a year that was really, really good and then never heard from him again was Dante Culpepper. And I believe...
But there was a lot of injuries there.
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries. So if Mahomes...
Plus, he was a more mobile quarterback. Even though he's a big guy, he was a guy that used his legs. Mahomes is just a pure passer.
If Mahomes stays healthy, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in 4 or 5 Super Bowls. And that's scary because you're seeing the end of an era with Brady, even if it's not this year. He can go to the Super Bowl this year, but it's coming. It's on the horizon. We know that. And if it's just replaced by Mahomes, I don't want to hate the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. They're fun. I mean,
I like Andy Reid.
Yeah, and he's a guy that definitely, and he's my favorite punt, pass, and kick participant in the history of that competition. But
I would vote for myself, but every time I got the order form, my mom never let me sign up for it. So,
well, you were.
I mean, she saved the embarrassment. I don't think I didn't have much of a leg back then.
No, you probably kick like most of the contestants at the Goose Island 43-yard field goal challenge. So
that was well. We should have talked about that.
We should have talked about that. I mean,
next week.
No, next week. So Cody Parkey is not off the hook because random guys couldn't kick a 43-yarder in the snow. But yeah, it's harder than you think to kick a football, and especially when you got big guys charging at you, trying to kill you. So you have Saints, Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I have Saints, Chiefs. I'll stick with the 1 seeds, and hopefully we get a good Sunday of football here. I think we will. I think we got 2 good matchups regardless. Like I said earlier, 2 rematches. So
hypothetically, Saints, Patriots make it to the Super Bowl. My picks. Whoever wins that, do you think they retire?
I don't think
the Peyton Manning route.
I don't think Brady does. I think I would think Breeze is more likely. I don't think either probably would. I wouldn't bet either to do it. I think Breeze would be more likely though because for him it's not every single year get to the playoffs and expect this greatness. I think Brady's going to want to try it again because he knows he can get there again. Remember the Saints for a while there were bad. I mean, Breeze was all they had. He was throwing for 5,000 yards, but they weren't winning games. And then, like you said earlier with the Colts, they had that awesome draft this past year. Well, the 2017 draft for the Saints was unbelievable. And, since then, they've been to 2 divisional rounds, now an NFC championship game. So I think Breeze, although the team is looking pretty good and they could compete for a while, I think he'd be more likely, but I don't think either will. I'd like to see Brady retire. Either way, I think Gronk probably just played his last game in Foxborough.
Isn't that bizarre? I mean,
he's the same age or a year older than Kelsey.
Yeah,
and we're talking about Kelsey as
like he's
the ascending tight end, the number 1 hands down. That's going to be doing it for years to come. And Gronk is on his way out. So it's pretty crazy.
The thing too, I know we're on like a lot of tangents, but I feel like you don't want to be the wide receiver. You don't want to catch balls from Brady. I feel like he does those running or their receivers just get their ass beat. I don't know if the way they kind of throw a lot of those little like crossing patterns and whatever.
That's their offense.
Yeah,
I mean,
and but it's an ugly. I mean, you watch those Amendola or Edelman,
Wes Welker.
Welker. I mean, they just got annihilated. Because I mean, he really hasn't had a receiver. Well, I mean, besides Gronk has been with him for a while. He hasn't had a really long tenured, reliable receiver. These guys, they come in and they go.
Because you said even Welker, he couldn't stay healthy because of the concussions. Eventually, he went to Denver. Edelman hasn't been there very long. But who knows how long he takes hit after hit after hit. I mean, he gets up, acts all tough, but
those hurt.
He'll be one of those guys, I should watch what I say here. He might be on the say-out route. And you know what? But yeah, you're absolutely right. Gronk's been his guy for a long time, but injuries have caught up to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, at some point, you just got to think, is it worth it? And I don't know if it would be.
He has that perspective. I think he thinks he's gonna be the next Hollywood,
Hey.
movie star. So,
I like his Tide commercials.
so there you go.
Tide Pods.
Yeah.
I love those commercials. So yeah, maybe that's his niche. Then he can be a commercial guy and maybe an action movie.
Expendables or something.
Yeah, he'll be in the Expendables 5, which they'll be talking about in Pricks on Flicks later.
Yeah. Perfect segue.
So that is it for this week here. Michael, thanks for joining.
Oh, thank you so much. When do I get my gift card for Red Lobster?
It's Don Quixote.
Oh, what? I was promised seafood dinner from a local Red Lobster.
No, did Stretton or John promise you that? Because
I don't remember who it was. I just know that
Not
they were
call.
calling on behalf of the Fantasy Hustle.
that is not in the budget. So I'm sorry. I can't
I
help
wasted
you
an
there.
hour of my life.
Hour and 10 minutes of your
Oh,
life.
son of a gun.
So, okay, I gave out all our information earlier. It's all on our Twitter page at @fantasy_hustle. Go on there and find our email, find our voicemail. Last thing I want to say is we're looking for ideas to do in the off season here. We're going to try to do like some draft shows, not fantasy draft, but drafting like different types of cereal or movies or certain genres of movies, stuff like that. And we just want ideas, what you guys might want to hear about, where you guys, think you guys have favorite things you want us to dissect. We're going to have 3 to 5 man panels that go into, 4 or 5 round drafts, breaking down that stuff. And, beer, that's one. We're drinking some good Spotted Cows from New Glarus. You can find it in Wisconsin. But
Only in Wisconsin.
yeah, so if you have any ideas, get on there and give us a couple of drafts you'd like to do. And if you're in the area and you're one of our friends and you want to be on the show, now's the time, because you don't have to know anything about fantasy football. You just come
If
in
you like seafood, they'll promise you a nice seafood gift card.
and never call you again.
Yeah.
So that is the Fantasy Hustle, even though we're not very fantasy. Although today was a nice fantasy show.
Yeah, we talked fantasy.
So enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I'm dressed up like a fantasy character. I'm wearing a Viking costume.
You are wearing a Viking costume. I'm very impressed by your horns.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So again, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you hopefully next week. That was not a good idea.